And it's not just the Phillip Schofield scandal that's blown up ITV's reputation in recent years. In March 2021, woke CEO Carolyn McCall axed Piers Morgan for refusing to stomach Meghan Markle's lies about the royal family. Jeremy Clarkson later met the same fate after daring to criticise the Duchess of Delusion, who complained personally to station bosses. Then ITV proved themselves as gutless as the rest of the MSM by pushing COVID propaganda, including the cringeworthy moment Holly and Phil hugged on air wearing plastic overalls. Loose woman Carol McGiffin was later forced to quit the show for refusing to back down over her own concerns about COVID vaccines. And who can forget this vile racist outburst during the King's coronation?
That we've gone from the rich diversity of the Abbey to a terribly white balcony. I'm very struck by that.
So I'm going to be honest with you. I have lost faith in woke ITV, but have you? Dan at gbnews.com. Vote in our poll at gbnews on Twitter. The results shortly. But to debate this now, the media commentator, ex-newspaper editor Neil Wallis, TV personality and model Jodie Marsh, and the social commentator Amy Anzel. So, Jodie Marsh, look, we've got to get this out there. You had a bit of a run-in, didn't you, on air with Phillip? He wasn't particularly kind to you, and many people share that same sort of experience, Jodie. What happened?
Yeah, so I was booked to do an interview on This Morning about freezing my eggs. As a single woman who was getting older, I was panicking about having children or not being able to have children. And so I was booked to do an interview about it. And obviously, any woman will know that's a really, really emotional thing to talk about. That is, you know, an incredibly hard topic for any woman, let alone going on live TV to talk about it. And Phillip turned the whole entire interview into an interview about sex. He wanted to know about all my past endeavours with men, who I'd slept with, how many I'd slept with, pretty much. He wanted to know the ins and outs of my full sex life, and turned it into the most crude and disgusting interview ever. And funny enough, I talked about this earlier, and I had a few people on Twitter say, "Oh, well, you've got a past, you know, deal with it. You know, you shouldn't sort of be surprised that somebody wanted to talk like that." But actually, I was horrified. I came away, I wanted to cry because I was there to talk about something so raw and so emotional. And of course, you know, everybody's got a past, but your past shouldn't define who you are as a person.
No. Indeed.
Yes, I'd had a lot of boyfriends in the past, but that doesn't, you know, make any bearing on who I am now as a person and my character. And so, yeah, I just felt like he really belittled the whole thing. He made it feel cheap and nasty and tacky.
Yeah. And the thing is, that isn't a one-off story. I think that's what's so extraordinary about this. Virtually everyone who's appeared on This Morning shares a similar story. And Neil Wallis, I think the problem for ITV with this Schofield scandal and the cover-up that's now followed is this isn't the first thing, Neil. You know, a lot of us have lost faith with ITV over the past 3 years because they seem to want to promote everything that Meghan and Harry say. They seem to think that Britain is a racist hellhole. Like, Neil, can you understand why people have lost faith in ITV?
I completely do. And, of course, the important thing in all of this, Dan, is that it comes from the top. The culture at ITV is decided from the boardroom. It's decided pretty much by Carolyn McCall. And you and I both know, before she was running an airline, she was the CEO for years at The Guardian. And she has taken that infection of how The Guardian views the world to her job running a popular TV channel. And as a result of all of that, of course, that's how people like you mentioned earlier, Piers Morgan fell foul of her wanting to take down someone who was a populist. She doesn't believe in that. And I do think, though, the reality is, in a week's time, Dan, you will be reporting how she has gone. She will not survive this.
Okay,
None of those people will survive this. There will have to be an Ofcom inquiry.
No, I think you're right. I think you're right. I mean, there is so much there. There is so much there. This is not actually smoke, it's fire. Amy Anzel, though, you say actually these scandals and the racist comments and the Meghan Markle propaganda, none of that has made you lose faith with ITV. Is that maybe because that's how you think too?
Thanks, Dan. No, I think that the scandals over the past few years and these issues do not erase the greatness of a networker and broadcaster that has been around for almost 70 years. I hope that GB News is around for 70 years.
Oh, we will.
It's not an easy thing. But, you know, think about all the great shows they have produced, and they have won tons of awards. I mean, Coronation Street is the longest running soap opera of all time. That's very impressive. Downton Abbey, Emmerdale, Loose Women.
But I don't think any of us are saying that ITV should be shut down. I think what Neil is saying is that ITV needs new management to go back to the golden days. I mean, Jodie, can you speak a bit more generally? Because obviously you've appeared on ITV so much over the years. You've been a big star of lots of their shows, but they've changed, haven't they, Jodie?
Oh, massively. I mean, I actually started my career on ITV.
Yeah.
So the very first thing I ever did was Essex Wives, which was like a reality show about Essex people and people from Essex. And you know what? They were wonderful. It was a wonderful experience and it was a wonderful time for me. As the years went by, I started to feel really discriminated against because they seemed to suddenly treat me like I was nothing and a nobody. And also they gave me the impression that they felt like I was some kind of trash. Now, I don't know if that's because I did Page 3 or because I did glamour modelling or because I, you know, have done many silly things in my career.
But it's so judgmental. Yeah, but it's judgmental. They're meant to be the home of the working classes, and I think that's why it's so shocking, Neil, that here they are, as Jodie says, Neil, that they judge others now. They're a very virtue-signalling bunch, and that's why I think they are being held to a higher standard over this scandal.
Well, I think that's exactly true, Dan. I think, you know, you and I both know if this story had happened in Parliament or in print media, ITV would be all over it like a rush. They would be beating the drum. There should be a public inquiry. You know, if you had a newspaper editor who had effectively groomed and seduced a youngster, we now know that this guy did work experience at ITV, arranged presumably by Phillip Schofield when he was only 19. You know that thing about it was foolish but legal. It wasn't illegal. Well, we're now getting very close to that border, aren't we, of how that is described. The point being here is that this was very well known, and this was facilitated, in truth, by the people whose job it is to run ITV.
Amy, you can't defend the management, can you, over the handling of this scandal? I mean, Amy, they've covered it up.
Dan, I'm not defending them. People make mistakes. Organizations often have shakeups in terms of management. I mean, HR issues are rife in organizations and corporations. I have a very small business and I have HR insurance because you never know what's going to happen. When someone's hired...
Oh, I promise you, I haven't just cut Amy off because I disagree with her. Jodie, I haven't. Jodie Marsh and Neil Wallis, thank you so much to you as well. But who do you agree with on this? Promise you, we're a free speech channel. That was a technical issue. Who do you agree with? After a series of scandals, have you lost faith in woke ITV? Graham on Twitter writes, I have lost faith in ITV, the BBC and all politicians in our country. What a bloody mess this country is in. Not to mention all the woke crap. Here. Sean on Twitter writes, ITV was really good with drama, game shows, Saturday entertainment and sport 30 years ago. But now it's not decent, just very woke. And from Hollands, I lost faith in ITV a long time ago. They preach on inclusivity, but discard good people if they refuse to go along with its woke narrative. Hypocrisy with a capital H. And your verdict is now in. It's an overwhelming result. 86% of you say you have lost faith in woke ITV after its run of scandals. Just 14% of you sticking with the channel.